The first ember steel ring broke beneath Dragon King Rhovan Roke's hand, while Bridget Lorne's maker's mark was still glowing inside it. The sound cut through Crown Flight Arena, sharper than any trumpet. One half of the ring struck the black stone at Bridget's feet. The other remained in Rhovan's fist, bright along the fracture where protective runes had been hammered thin enough to flex around a dragon's talon. Above them, 12,000 spectators waited for the opening flight. Arena Master Yzra Brandt stood beside the royal platform, in a crimson flight coat, one hand resting on the rail above the champion dragon's landing lane. "Overbuilt," she said, "too soft at the inner curve, too cautious for tournament descent." Bridget looked past her to the landing stones. 7 fresh scrape marks crossed the third platform. 3 were deep enough to catch a talon. "You asked me to reinforce the pressure edge," Bridget said. "I did. You thickened it," Yzra replied. "The champion lost half a breath on his last turn because your ring resisted release. The ring resisted because he struck the same outer claw on every landing." A murmur moved through the lower tiers. Rhovan's face remained still. He wore black scale armor without a crown, broad-shouldered beneath the arena banners. A pale scar crossed the back of his right hand, disappearing beneath his gauntlet. No one in the court knew the old fracture in his left leg still woke before storms, or that he had trained himself not to limp where soldiers could see. "Your report claimed repeated stress injury," he said. "It documented it. Yzra's healers found no break. They examined the leg after the swelling had been packed in ice ash." Yzra's gaze sharpened. "You are accusing the royal care staff of concealing injury. I am accusing the arena of asking stone to tell you what living feet already have." Rhovan lowered his eyes to the broken ring. Bridget had made protective talon fittings for Crown Flight Arena for 19 years. Her husband, Orin Lorne, had designed the first ember steel ring wide enough to distribute a dragon's weight across hard tournament stone. He had died beneath a falling ashwing 6 years earlier. The court record blamed a failed fitting from his forge. Bridget had spent every season since proving that the ring had not failed. The dragon's foot had. Yzra lifted a replacement fitting from a velvet tray. It was narrower, brighter, and made by the royal armory rather than Bridget's workshop. "Champions require speed," she said. Not a widow's fear hammered into metal. The cruelty lay in how reasonable she made it sound. Bridget did not look toward the crowd. "My husband died because this arena called pain hesitation until a dragon could no longer hold itself upright. And now you see his death in every landing. I see pressure where it repeats." Rhovan broke the second ring. This one split less cleanly. Ember sparks ran over his glove and died against the stone. "Bridget Lorne," he said, "your arena license is revoked pending review. The Royal Armory will fit the champion for today's contest." She held out her hand. "Then record that I objected before the gates opened. The report is already entered. Entered is not the same as heard." The champion dragon waited at the far end of the field. Varkesh was a massive bronze male with a dark crest and one torn wingtip from the northern campaigns. Gold armor covered his chest. New armory rings shone around all 4 sets of talons. He shifted his weight away from the right forefoot. Only once. No one in the stands noticed. Bridget did. "Close the east lane," she said. Yzra laughed without humor. "The tournament begins in 12 minutes. Then you have 12 minutes to keep him from landing on that foot. Rhovan Xiao hardened. You no longer command this arena. Authority does not change the fracture, nor does grief prove one." Bridget crouched and picked up the broken halves of her first ring. Embersteel remembered pressure. Not guilt, not names, not intention. It did not accuse. It returned to the surface that had taught the damage where to repeat. Every hard landing left a heat pattern inside the metal. Reheated properly, a damaged ring contracted toward the surface that had taken the repeated force. That was why Bridget had asked for the fittings from Varkesh's last 6 contests. Isra had produced only 2. The old rings must be tested before he flies, Bridget said. They were discarded, Isra answered. Protective evidence is not waste. It is arena property. It is a dragon's injury record. Rhovan looked toward Varkesh. The champion's nostrils flared. His claws scraped once across stone. The old scar inside Rovan's left leg tightened in answer. He ignored it. Continue the fitting, he ordered. He chose the schedule over the foot. He knew old pain well enough to hide his own, but not well enough to honor it in another body. Bridget unpinned her brass license from her coat and placed it on the broken ring. I will not bless this landing. No one asked you to. No. You asked my work to disappear before the dragon proved why it existed. The arena gates opened. Trumpets sounded. Varkesh launched beneath a storm of bronze banners. He climbed hard, circled once, and struck the first platform with his hind talons. The crowd roared. On the second descent, his right forefoot touched late. On the third, the new armory ring flashed white. Varkesh screamed. He tore the fitting from his own talon with his teeth and hurled it across the field. The ring hit a warming brazier beside Bridget. Heat entered the embastille. The metal shuddered. Then it contracted sharply and dragged itself across the stone, not toward Bridget, not toward Rhovan, but toward the eastern wall, where a narrow service gate stood beneath Isra Brant's private seal. Varkesh landed badly. One wing struck the sand. His injured foot folded beneath him. The crowd fell silent as the champion forced himself upright. He did not turn toward his healer. He did not turn toward the king. Limping, furious, and bleeding heat through the torn ring line, Varkesh crossed the arena toward the sealed gate of Isra's private training pit. The gate did not prove Isra had broken him. It proved the injury had been trained somewhere. The public arena had not been allowed to see. The embastille had not named a culprit. It had named the surface missing from every official report. The eastern service gate buckled beneath Varkesh's shoulder before the royal healers reached him. The bronze dragon struck it once, then dragged his injured forefoot backward as the tendons locked beneath the torn ring line. His claws scraped a crescent into the black sand. Heat pulsed through the scales above his talons. Sedation team, the chief healer ordered. 2 attendants ran forward with a silver bell muzzle and a vial of duskroot. Bridget stepped between them and the injured foot. Do not sedate him. The healer looked toward the brass license, still lying beside the broken rings. You no longer hold authority here. Duskroot will relax the upper limb before the lower tendons release. If the claw folds under his weight, the joint may collapse. Isra Brant descended from the royal platform, or he may strike everyone near him while pain makes him dangerous. A dragon does not fake the same pain 6 landings in a row. He completed those landings. He survived them. Varkesh slammed his tail against the gate. Stone dust fell from Isra's private seal. Rhovan crossed the arena without drawing his sword. The old fracture in his left leg tightened over the uneven sand, but his pace did not change. Clear the stands. Seal every public gate. No dragon leaves Crown Flight Arena. The tournament horns fell silent. Spectators were driven toward the outer corridors, while flight crews lowered the overhead chains. The remaining dragons shifted in their stalls. Isra looked toward the closing gates. You are suspending the tournament on one unexplained injury. I am holding the arena until the champion can stand without falling. That distinction will not survive the betting houses. Then they may lose silver before another dragon loses a foot. It was not an apology to Bridget. It was the first order that placed injury before schedule. The chief healer raised the duskroot again. Rhovan looked at Bridget. What do you require? 4 handlers on the left. No chains near the damaged claw. Warm the tendon above the joint, not the ring line. And someone strong enough to hold the foot when the lock releases. Isra's mouth hardened. A revoked maker cannot examine the royal champion. Then do not restore me, Bridget said. Record me as Talon witness for this injury only." Rhovan answered before Isra could. "Temporary Talon. Witness standing is granted until Varkesh is stabilized and the landing pattern recorded." Bridget did not move. "Do not call me witness while my license is still lying broken at your feet. Your license remains under review. Then record that you need my judgment while refusing the office that made it lawful." "It will." He accepted the contradiction without softening it. Varkesh's forefoot struck the sand again. Bridget pointed to the inside of the claw. "Hold above the second joint. If he pulls, move with him." Rhovan removed his gauntlets. "A king does not kneel beneath an unstable champion," Isra said. "A champion does not become stable because a king remains standing." He approached from Varkesh's sightline, one hand open. Smoke leaked between the dragon's teeth. Rhovan waited until Varkesh recognized his scent, then lowered himself beside the forelimb. Bridget knelt opposite him. "Your strength is useful. Your judgment is not yet part of this procedure." His Khaza held hers. "Tell me where." She placed his hands above the swollen tendon without touching him. "Here. Do not squeeze the ring line. When the claw opens, support the weight before it reaches stone." The warming cloth loosened the upper tendon. Varkesh shuddered. Then the locked claw released. Rhovan took the descending weight across both forearms. Pain flashed through his old leg as he braced, but he did not shift his hold. Bridget slid a padded wedge beneath the talons and bound the claw in embercloth. Only when the foot no longer touched stone did Varkesh's breathing slow. Isra watched from the gate. Private conditioning is not injury concealment. It is how champions are made. The eastern pit uses shorter lanes, sharper turns, and controlled descent drills. Then its surfaces belong in the official pressure record, Bridget replied. They are training surfaces, not tournament platforms. Feet do not recognize administrative categories. Rhovan stood carefully. "Open the private pit." Isra placed her hand over the seal. "Not while an injured dragon is pressed against the gate. If he sees the descent lane, he may force entry." The objection was reasonable. Bridget examined Varkesh's breathing. "She is right. Move him first." They guided the champion into an empty recovery bay adjoining Tower 4. Bridget refused chains and ordered the damaged foot suspended above warm ash. Rhovan assigned crown guards to the gate, the bay, and the fitting archive. Only then did Isra open the private pit. The chamber beyond was narrow and cut beneath the eastern stands. 5 descending stone platforms spiraled toward a central sand floor. None appeared broken. None carried obvious blood. "Elite conditioning," Isra said. "Short approaches teach balance under battlefield pressure." Bridget crouched at the first platform. Parallel claw scoring marked its outer edge. "How many descents per session?" "Variable." "Recorded where?" "In the flight logs." The logs listed dates, riders, weather, and total training time. They did not list individual landings. Bridget requested Varkesh's previous 6 talon fittings. The archive keeper brought 2 sealed trays. 4 are missing, Bridget said. "Discarded after heat fatigue," Isra answered. "By whose order?" "Worn fittings are removed from service." "Removed is not destroyed." The disposal ledger showed 4 entries from the private pit. Each described cracked ember steel sent to the eastern ash chute. No pressure reheating had been performed. Rhovan ordered the chute sealed and searched. Workers sifted through furnace ash until dusk. They found buckles, wing clasps, broken tack hooks, and 3 melted ring fragments too damaged to read. The 4th fitting remained whole beneath black cinder. Bridget cleaned its inner curve and placed it in a controlled brazier. The ring darkened. Its maker's edge contracted first. Then the entire fitting pulled across the testing plate toward the eastern wall. Not toward Isra, not toward the logs, toward training stone, hidden behind the pit's outer retaining wall. The recovered ring repeated the first ring's direction. It still had not named who ordered the landings. It had revealed that the official private pit was not the only surface beneath the eastern stands. The hidden surface did not yet name the hand that used it. It proved only that Varkesh had been landing somewhere no public flight log admitted. Crown masons struck the eastern retaining wall before dawn, while 3 independent clerks recorded every removed stone. Rhovan had ordered the opening under royal seal, but Bridget's brass license still lay beside the broken ember steel rings in the public arena. Her authority extended only to examining the hidden surface and preserving its pressure evidence. Isra Brandt stood behind the witness rail. "That wall belongs to an old emergency descent lane," she said. "It predates my appointment by 20 years. Was it active?" Rhovan asked. "Not as a tournament course. That was not the question. It may have been used for emergency recovery drills. The arena has survived wars, fire, and rebuilding. Not every old passage remained in the current plans." Bridget watched the masons lift the first stone. Ash shoot heat could distort ember steel. Old walls could preserve markings that looked fresher beneath soot. Isra's objections were possible. That was why the wall had to speak through more than one kind of evidence. The second row came away. Cold air moved through the opening. Beyond it lay a narrow channel cut between the arena foundation and eastern cliff. Unlike the official training pit, it offered no turning basin, sand floor, or recovery stretch. 5 steep platforms dropped toward a blind stone wall. Fresh scrape lines crossed the first landing. Bridget entered only after a clerk marked her temporary hidden surface review access. Isra remained at the threshold. A revoked maker should not control a structural inquiry. "I am not controlling it," Bridget said. "I am reading pressure." Rhovan stayed outside the opening. "Her license remains under review. Her evidence does not." Bridget looked back at him. "You trusted me after his foot folded. That is not trust. That is damage becoming loud enough for kings." The old fracture in his left leg pulled against his stance. "I know." It was not an apology. It placed his delay inside the record. Bridget knelt beside the first platform. The claw marks were deeper along the right edge, with one outer talon cutting lower than the others. She measured the spacing with a bone gauge. Varkesh's right forefoot matched the pattern, not perfectly, enough to require comparison. Bring the recovery cast. The healers had pressed warm wax beneath Varkesh's injured claw after stabilizing him. Bridget laid the hardened impression beside the scoring. The outer talon aligned with the deepest groove. Isra examined it. Many war dragons carry the same landing bias. Then we compare the others. 6 dragons had trained in Crown Flight Arena that season. Their current fittings were brought under seal. Bridget measured each claw width without reheating the rings. Only Varkesh's span matched all 4 principal marks. The lane had carried him. It still did not show who ordered him into it, how often he descended, or whether the injuries were hidden deliberately. Rhovan looked down the steep sequence. How many landings could a dragon complete here? With recovery between descents? Bridget asked. Yes, 2 safely. Perhaps 3, depending on wing fatigue. Isra answered first. Champions do not train for safety. They train for war. War allows recovery when the body requires it. Battle does not. Battle also does not repeat the same stone wall until a betting board is satisfied. Isra's eyes narrowed. You have established no connection to betting. No, Bridget said. I have established repetitive pressure without a recovery floor. A dark sheen filled grooves on the 5th platform. The healer collected a sample, dragon scale oil. Recent enough that dust had not settled inside it. Pressure without recovery is not training, Bridget said. It is collapse with applause. The lane ended against a vertical wall. A dragon forced through the descent would have to brake hard, climb almost straight upward, or turn without space for full wings. Rhovan stepped inside. You use this place? He asked Isra. I supervised emergency drills throughout the Eastern Works. On Varkesh, I supervised the arena. Riders conducted individual sessions. Who authorized access? The gate office. Below the third platform, they found an access gate disguised behind hinged black stone. Its lock accepted an arena master's key, a flight captain's key, or a royal emergency key. Isra's seal on the outer service gate did not prove she had opened this entrance. The construction archive was brought down. Original plans described the passage as an evacuation channel for injured dragons during siege. It had been closed after a bronze female broke a wing against the final wall 14 years earlier. A later order reinforced the platforms but did not authorize renewed use. The repair carried no signature from Isra. It came from the Royal Works Office during Rhovan's second year on the throne. He read the date twice. I approved Eastern structural reinforcement. Did you approve reopening a descent lane? Bridget asked. No. Did you ask why an abandoned lane needed reinforced platforms? No. He had authorized stone, without asking what the stone would be used to endure. Isra folded her hands. Reinforcement is not evidence of secret training. An arena master preserves every emergency route. Then there should be access records. Bridget said. The gate office produced 3 ledgers. The public ledger listed maintenance entries and 2 evacuation drills. The private key ledger showed additional openings marked only as Eastern conditioning. No dragon names appeared. The handwriting belonged to several clerks, not Isra. Who requested these entries? Rhovan asked. Requests came through sealed flight orders, the senior gate clerk said. From whom? The seal indicated Arena Command. Arena Command includes 6 officers, Isra said. Bridget kept the inquiry narrow. Bring the sealed orders. Until then, the ledger proves access, not authorship. The orders were stored beneath the rider registry. 7 narrow slips bore the Eastern conditioning mark. Each listed Varkesh's stall number. The first was dated 9 days after Bridget's initial report of outer claw stress. The next followed her second report. The last 4 appeared after she warned that another hard descent could produce tendon lock. Isra read the slips without speaking. None carried her personal signature. Each bore the Arena Command seal and a rider captain's countersign. The hidden lane had not yet named, who decided the warnings could be ignored. It proved something narrower and harder to dismiss. After Bridget documented the injury, Varkesh had been sent back to the erased descent channel again and again. The orders did not yet name Isra's hand. They named the thing the arena had done with Bridget's warnings, received them, filed them, and trained the dragon harder afterward. Varkesh's bound forefoot began to swell before the rider captain reached the recovery bay. Heat climbed from the torn ring line into the tendon above the second joint, turning the bronze scales dark along one narrow band. The suspended claw twitched without touching stone. Bridget cut away the outer ember cloth. Warm ash out. Cold mineral pack above the joint. Do not numb the foot. The chief healer hesitated. The lock already released. The claw released. The tendon did not recover. Rhovan entered as 2 handlers carried in fresh water and mineral cloth. He had summoned the rider captain named on the sealed orders, but Bridget did not look up. How bad? He asked. Worse than when he left the arena. Isra Brandt followed him into the bay, or more visible now that he has stopped moving. Bridget pressed 2 fingers against the tendon sheath. Varkesh's claws tightened. Every forced descent stole the recovery time between strain and collapse. The body can hide damage while the work continues. It swells when the work finally stops. The rider captain arrived under guard. Captain Darren Voust was lean, gray-haired, and missing the tip of one ear from an old flight injury. He saluted Rhovan, then looked toward Varkesh with the expression of a man who had expected accusation and found consequence instead. You countersigned 7 Eastern conditioning orders, Rhovan said. Yes, Majesty. Who instructed you to use the erased lane? Arena comment? Isra's voice remained controlled. Arena command includes 6 officers. Say which one. Darren kept his eyes on the king. The instructions came through performance review. That is an office, not a person. The office carried the arena master's standing authority. Standing authority is not a personal order, Isra said. Rider captains choose conditioning lanes according to a dragon's war profile. Darren nodded once. That is true. Bridget turned from Varkesh. Why was he sent there after my reports? To verify performance. Under what standard? Whether the outer claw stress altered descent control under pressure. Testing an injured foot under pressure is not diagnosis. It is punishment with a stopwatch. Darren's jaw tightened. We needed to know whether the Maker's caution matched field performance. You already had 6 landings showing the same bias. We had reports. You had a dragon. The words silenced. The bay. Varkesh shifted. Rhovan moved toward him, but Bridget raised one hand. Not yet. He trusts your strength because he had no choice when the foot dropped. Do not turn that into permission. Rhovan stopped. You trusted me after his foot folded, she said. That was not trust. That was damage becoming loud enough for kings. He accepted the rebuke without defense. Darren looked toward the bandaged claw. The first Eastern session was meant to test whether the ring was limiting release. The second was ordered after the armory questioned the fitting width. And the next 5? To confirm consistency. A champion can hide pain long enough for cowards to call it proof. Isra stepped closer to the witness rail. If Varkesh completed the descents, the captain had reason to consider the condition manageable. Manageable for whom? Bridget asked. The dragon, the rider, or the betting board? Again, Isra's gaze sharpened. You have not established betting control? No. I have established that someone demanded repeated proof after injury was already documented. Rhovan ordered Darren's flight orders, rider reports, and performance review notes placed under separate seals. You approved the stone, Bridget said. You did not ask what pain it was being shaped to hide. Then Varkesh's foot jerked hard enough to tear the suspension strap. The dragon roared and drove his shoulder into the stall wall. Hold the limb, the chief healer shouted. Bridget climbed onto the low treatment platform. No chains. Support from above. Rhovan took position where she pointed, one arm beneath the forelimb, the other braced against the chest plate. Varkesh's weight forced him onto his damaged left leg. Pain tightened his face. He did not move. Bridget opened the tendon wrap and found a second heat line beneath the first. Repeated landing recoil, she said. The tendon sheath has been striking the same edge from inside. Can it be saved? Rhovan asked. If he does not bear tournament weight again, if the claw is realigned, if the damaged ring line is fitted to distribute pressure instead of hiding it. Isra watched Bridget measure the foot. You would refit him while your license remains revoked? I would stabilize him under witness authority. I will not certify him for flight, Rhovan said. Then no one certifies him. It was an order, not restoration. Bridget worked until the swelling slowed. Only then did she ask for Darren's oldest performance file. One phrase appeared repeatedly in the Eastern Lane notes. Lorne caution requires verification, not Bridget's first name. Lorne. The same wording appeared in records from 6 years earlier. Before Orin Lorne died beneath the ashwing, Bridget went still. Open the historical fitting archive. Isra objected immediately. Orin's accident was reviewed and closed. Closed under whose precious standard? Bridget asked. The standard in force at the time. The same standard now using my warnings as a reason to increase strain? Rhovan looked at the repeated phrase. Open it. The historical chest arrived before midnight. Inside lay Orin's design sketches, the official failure judgment, and the ring recovered from the dragon that fell on him. The fitting had been stored cold for 6 years. Its outer curve was cracked. Its inner pressure edge remained intact. The court judgment had called that crack proof of poor workmanship. Bridget placed the ring in a controlled brazier. Embastille warmed slowly. It did not show death. It did not remember Orin. It remembered only the forces pressed into it before the fall. The crack closed part way. Then the ring contracted across the stone table. Not toward the public platform where Orin died. Toward the eastern wall. Toward the erased descent lane beneath Crown Flight Arena. The old fitting did not prove who sent that dragon there. It proved Orin Lorne's fatal accident had begun on the same hidden surface now breaking Varkesh. Bridget ordered every dragon in Crown Flight Arena taken off stone before sunrise. The gate captains objected. "Your standing covers Varkesh and the hidden surface," one said. "Not the full roster. Then bring the king." Rhovan arrived in a black training coat, moving with the stiffness of a man whose old fracture had not forgiven the previous night. Bridget stood between the launch gates and 6 waiting dragons. "Orin's fitting carried the same eastern lane pressure as Varkesh," she said. "Until every active ring is examined, no dragon lands on tournament stone." Isra Brunt crossed the arena with 2 clerks behind her. "A 6-year-old fitting can warp in storage. Heat memory weakens after long neglect. Then we compare it with living feet. You do not command the roster." "No. I refuse to fit the champion while the arena hides what its other dragons are carrying." Rhovan looked toward the eastern lane. "Seal all flight gates for 1 cycle. No training, no contest, no private descent." The captains obeyed. It was not Bridget's license restored. It was royal force placed behind her temporary warning. She did not thank him. "You held the foot after you ordered the landing," she said. "Do not mistake a pause for repair." "I do not." The examinations began in the sand recovery yard. Bridget required each fitting removed cold, each claw cast in warm wax, and each tendon checked before any ring was reheated. 3 dragons showed ordinary wear. The 4th, a red female named Serath, carried a bright pressure band along both outer foreclaws. Her official record listed no injury. The 5th had a healed split beneath the left rear talon and a replacement ring issued without maker review. The 6th flinched before Bridget touched the inner joint. Isra watched the findings enter the ledger. "Tournament dragons accumulate strain. That is not corruption. Strain recorded and treated is training," Bridget said. "Strain hidden until it changes performance is something else." The royal healer examined Serath. "She can recover with 10 days off stone. She is scheduled for the Southern Endurance flight in 4, Isra said. "Then she is not flying. A Talon witness cannot remove a dragon from the roster." Bridget set the damaged ring on the table. "I am refusing to certify metal for a foot that requires rest," Rhovan said. "No ring, no flight." Isra turned to him. "You are allowing a revoked artisan to suspend royal revenue. I am allowing an injury finding to survive long enough to be tested." The distinction still cost the arena 3 contests before noon. Betting stewards requested permission to reopen wagers on the remaining flights. Rhovan denied it. Bridget looked toward their sealed counting chamber. "Why are betting officers asking before the healers finish?" "Because suspended contests change every royal purse tied to the season," Isra said. "The arena funds border roosts, dragon feed, and veteran riders. So does teaching an injured foot to fail on command. You have no evidence betting-shaped training. Then let the timing clear you." Rhovan ordered the wagering books preserved but not yet opened. Betting oversight belonged to the Treasury Court, and he would not destroy chain of custody with a careless seizure. Bridget accepted the limit. She returned to Orin's accident file. The official diagram showed the Ashwing falling from the public 3rd platform after its left forering fractured. Orin had stood beneath the repair rail, outside the danger line, but the recovered ring carried dominant pressure from the right side. The erased eastern lane forced hard braking onto the right forefoot. "The diagram and the fitting disagree," Bridget said. "Dragons twist during a fall," Isra replied. "They do. That is why we need body position and witness statements." 2 witnesses had died. 1 had left the kingdom. The 4th was listed only as an unnamed apprentice, treated for a broken wrist. Find the infirmary entry. The treatment book named Thomas Vey, 17 at the time, and now a platform mason in the Western Quarry. Rhovan sent riders for him. While they waited, Bridget reopened Oren's maker notes. He had recorded a widening pressure line 2 days before the fatal contest, and recommended removing the ash wing from steep descent work. The recommendation carried a received stamp. The next page held a performance verification order from Arena Command. Isra read the date. I was deputy master then. I did not hold final authority. Did you sit on performance review? Rhovan asked. Yes, with 4 others. Did you see this warning? I do not remember one report from 6 years ago. That is not denial, Bridget said. It is accuracy. By dusk, Thomas Vey arrived with a mason's dust coat and a wrist that still bent poorly in cold weather. He recognized Oren's ring before anyone named it. That dragon wore this the day he fell. Were you beneath the platform? Bridget asked. Thomas looked at the official diagram. No, I was inside the danger line. Why? The release hook jammed. I went to clear it. What happened when the dragon came down? Rhovan asked. It struck wrong. Master Lorne saw the foot fold before the rider did. Where was Oren? Bridget asked. Behind me. The yard. Lost all sound. He pushed me under the repair arch. Then he stepped where I had been and took the dragon's shoulder across his back. The official judgment said Oren had misjudged the fall while inspecting his failed work. It had never said he entered the impact path to save an apprentice. Bridget pressed one hand against the table. Grief made her voice precise. Was the dragon coming from the public platform? Thomas looked toward the eastern wall. No. They brought him through the old descent lane to test whether Master Lorne's warning was exaggerated. The testimony did not yet prove who ordered the test. It proved Oren had died beneath a dragon, sent back onto the same hidden surface after he warned that its foot was failing. Then the treasury clerk entered with the first preserved betting summary. On the day Oren died, the odds against the Ashwing had shifted sharply before the hidden verification descent was ordered. Before midnight, Rhovan sealed the treasury betting chamber and separated every steward from the arena officers. No wager book left the room. No rider captain entered. 3 independent clerks copied the odds for every dragon trained in the Eastern Lane during the previous 6 years. Isra Brandt requested counsel before answering questions. A shift in odds is not evidence that an injury was manufactured, she said. Spectators watch warm-ups, riders talk, stable hands sell rumors. Then the timing should remain irregular, Bridget replied. The first comparison covered 14 hidden lane sessions that could be matched to surviving gate records. In 11, the odds against the trained dragon changed before its next public flight. In 7, the shift began less than 1 hour after the eastern gate opened. In 3, nothing changed at all. The pattern required investigation. It did not yet prove manipulation. Rhovan ordered the betting warden brought before the witness table. Master Peldor was a narrow man, with silver rings on every finger, and the careful voice of someone accustomed to making uncertainty profitable. We received performance variance slips from Arena Command, he said. Injury reports? Rhovan asked. No. Market advisories, wing fatigue, rider changes, poor feeding, unstable release. Who decided what appeared on them? The performance office. Isra folded her hands. Fair betting requires current information. Without official advisories, private rumor controls the entire market. Bridget placed her 3 reports beside the variance slips issued for Varkesh. Her first warning described outer claw stress. The corresponding market slip called it minor release hesitation. Her second warned of a widening tendon load. The slip reported reduced turning confidence. Her final report recommended immediate rest. The betting office received anticipated inconsistency during steep descent. They translated injury into uncertainty, Bridget said. They translated technical language for the market. Isra answered. They removed the reason. The betting houses do not diagnose dragons, yet they adjusted silver before the healers adjusted care. A handler entered from the recovery yard before the next ledger could be opened. Master Lorne, the champion's heat has risen again. Bridget left the chamber at once. Varkesh stood on 3 legs inside the recovery bay, smoke leaking between his teeth. The injured forefoot hung above the padded floor, but the scales around the tendon had turned nearly black. Bridget smelled the sharp sweetness before she touched him. Who applied cinderleaf resin? The chief healer looked toward the care chest. No one under my order. She lifted one scale carefully. A thin amber film remained beneath it. Cinderleaf dulled surface pain and kept a joint moving through short strain. It was legal for transporting an injured dragon from danger. Used before landing drills, it could hide the warning flinch that protected a damaged tendon. Isra entered behind Rhovan. Cinderleaf is standard arena medicine. After injury, Bridget said. Not before verification descents. Can you prove when it was applied? Not from the residue alone. Rhovan had gone still. Bridget looked at him. You know the scent. His left hand rested against the seam of his coat. My war healer used it on my leg before public mounts. Because the old fracture hurt? Yes. Did it make the fracture sound? No. It made you look sound. The words landed harder than accusation. Rhovan had known what it meant to move before a crowd while pain was chemically silenced. He had called that discipline in himself and accepted it as performance in Varkesh. Wash the resin out, he ordered. No masking compound enters a flight bay without a separate injury record. Bridget did not move toward the wash basin. My witness standing covers pressure evidence. If I alter treatment without recorded authority, Isra can later call the care improper. Rhovan faced the clerk. Extend Bridget Lorne's temporary authority to stabilize any arena dragon carrying an unrecorded pain, masking compound. Her license remains under review. Still revoked, Bridget said. Yes. Then write that the Crown requires the work while withholding the standing. The clerk wrote it. Bridget mixed mineral water with cold ash salt and washed the amber resin from beneath Varkesh's scales. As sensation returned, the dragon trembled and tried to pull the foot close. Rhovan moved forward. Bridget stopped him with one look. Your strength, when I ask for it, not before. He waited. She realigned the padded support, then directed his hands beneath the forelimb. He took the weight while she eased the tendon into a wider brace. The swelling did not vanish. Varkesh would require weeks without hard landing, perhaps months. He will not fly this tournament, Bridget said. Isra answered. A temporary witness cannot remove the royal champion for a season. I am not removing him. His foot is. Rhovan looked at the darkened tendon. Varkesh is withdrawn until 2 independent healers and the Talon Authority certify recovery. There is no Talon Authority, Isra said. Then the absence will be corrected before he returns. It was the first promise of structural change. It was not Bridget's license. Back in the Treasury chamber, the treatment archive was opened beside the betting books. Cinderleaf purchases had doubled during the last 3 tournament seasons. The public medical register listed only transport use and post-flight care. Private issue slips showed repeated deliveries to the Eastern conditioning stores. Most bore quartermaster marks. None named a dragon. Darren Voust identified the practice. Riders requested it when a champion tightened before descent. Were the healers informed? Bridget asked. Not always. A small amount was considered readiness care. Pain hidden for readiness is still pain. Isra did not retreat. If captains used medicine outside protocol, they answer for it. Arena command cannot stand beside every claw. No, Bridget said, but Arena Command built the system that rewarded completed landings and punished withdrawn flights. The betting warden produced a final packet of variant slips held apart from the public books. One matched the day Orin died. Another matched Varkesh's last Eastern session. Both had been issued before the dragons entered the hidden lane. Each predicted diminished right-side stability. Attached to Varkesh's slip was an arena performance order. Apply readiness care. Repeat Eastern descent until variance is confirmed. The order carried no personal signature. It bore the performance review seal used by multiple officers, but the distribution line sent its only private copy to the arena master's desk. And 12 minutes after that copy was received, the betting line against Varkesh began to move. The receipt did not prove Isra had written the order or opened the copy. It proved her private office received the prediction before the market did, and before Varkesh was made to land. At first bell, Rhovan placed Isra Brandt's private office under divided custody before any clerk could clear the night dispatches. One key remained with the Crown Examiner. One went to the arena records keeper. The third was given to Bridget, under temporary Talon witness seal. Isra objected. A revoked maker has no authority over administrative correspondence. She has authority over records connected to concealed pressure injury, Rhovan said. Then limit her to medical pages. The betting prediction reached your desk before Varkesh entered the erased lane. That makes the desk part of the injury chain. Bridget accepted the key without wearing it. A key granted for one inquiry was not a license returned. Inside, flight schedules, betting summaries, rider complaints, and maintenance requests stood in labeled cabinets. Isra's discipline made disorder unlikely. It also made missing pages easier to notice. The private copy of Varkesh's variance slip was absent from the current season file. Its receipt remained in the desk register. Who clears completed advisories? Bridget asked. Isra's senior clerk, Rhovan, answered from beyond the witness rail. I do. Did you clear this one? No. Who else handles private copies? The arena master may retain them for performance review. Isra's counsel spoke carefully. You have an absent copy, not a destroyed one. It may have been misfiled or carried to a meeting. Bridget nodded. That is why we follow access, instead of guessing intention. The office door ledger listed 4 entries during the hour before Varkesh's hidden descent. Rhovan, Captain Darren Voust, betting warden Pell Dor, and Isra herself. All 4 had legitimate reasons to enter. Rhovan separated them for testimony. Mara said she delivered the variance copy and left it unopened on Isra's central table. Darren came for the Eastern Lane order, already sealed by performance review. Pell admitted discussing market instability, but denied seeing the injury report. Isra said she entered to approve revised contest timing. Their accounts could coexist. They could also conceal coordination. Bridget requested the table wax. Isra's counsel almost smiled. You believe furniture remembers guilt now? No. It remembers weight. The table held a thin layer of sealing wax beneath its writing board. Clerks used it to take temporary impressions before permanent copies were made. Under blue heat, several recent marks lifted. One matched the performance review seal. Another matched Pell's variance stamp. A third was a partial line. Repeat until confirmed. Isra read it without expression. That phrase appears in performance procedure. On injury verification? On any disputed variance. Who wrote it? The impression cannot establish that. She was right. The wax proved the order had been prepared or copied on Isra's table. It did not prove whose hand held the stylus. Then a roar rolled through the arena floor. Not Varkesh, Serath, the red female removed from the Southern Endurance flight, had struck her stall gate hard enough to bend the upper hinge. Bridget ran first. The dragon's left foreclaw had curled inward beneath the temporary support. A stable master held a cinderleaf cup near her mouth. Put it down, Bridget ordered. She will not let us reset the brace, because the brace is wrong. The Royal Armory had reused a narrow tournament fitting beneath the bandage, after Bridget refused certification. Its inner edge pressed against the stress band she had recorded that morning. Who authorized this? The stable master pointed to a readiness order pinned outside the stall. Issued after the gates closed, it directed staff to preserve competitive condition for any dragon not formally withdrawn. Isra reached the yard behind Rhovan. That is standing tournament language. It does not order an injured dragon fitted. It orders staff to keep her ready while no authority exists to withdraw her, Bridget said. The healer could have refused. The healer was told she remained on the roster. Bridget cut the narrow fitting free. Sereth's claw opened by degrees. A roster that survives by making injury administratively invisible is not readiness. Rhovan tore the order from the post. Who issued this after I sealed the gates? The lower margin carried the Royal Tournament Continuance mark. His mark, not his personal hand, but authority delegated years earlier to Arena Command whenever injury or delay threatened the season schedule. He had given the Arena power to preserve competition without returning each decision to the Crown. You approved the rule, Bridget said. You did not ask what pain it was being shaped to hide. Rhovan looked at Sereth's trembling foot. Suspend the continuance mark. No dragon remains competition, ready after an injury finding, unless the healer and Talon authority agree. There is no permanent Talon authority, Isra said. Then Bridget's temporary standing controls fitting clearance. Bridget faced him. Temporary power after damage is not restoration. No. And it does not erase that your mark kept her on the roster. No. He did not ask her to make the admission easier. The betting chamber produced the season incentive schedule before dusk. Arena officers received no direct share of wages, but tournament revenue funded rider bonuses, stable expansions, and the prestige ranking used to appoint the next Royal Flight Council. Withdrawn champions reduced all three. Isra's office had reason to keep favored dragons active. That was motive, not proof. The missing Varkesh copy was found inside a rider conference folio. It carried 2 handwritten notes. Maker warning may overstate structural risk. Confirm under controlled Eastern pressure. Delay public withdrawal until variance establishes market adjustment. The handwriting belonged to Rhovan. Mara admitted writing both from spoken instructions during the private meeting. Whose instructions? Rhovan asked. She looked towards Isra, then Darren. Performance review spoke as one office. That is not an answer, Bridget said. It is the only answer I can swear to. Captain Voust argued for one confirming dissent. Master Dor asked when the market should be warned. Arena Master Brandt said no public withdrawal should be announced before the variance was certain. Isra did not deny the sentence. False injury announcements can destroy a season and a dragon's value. Varkesh's value, Bridget said, or the value of those betting on when he would fail. The notes did not prove Isra ordered repeated dissents or profited from them. They proved she knew Bridget's warning before Varkesh entered the hidden lane and chose to delay withdrawal until his pain became useful to the market. No tournament banner rose over Crown Flight Arena the next morning. Rhovan opened the public tiers for witness, not spectacle. Riders, healers, talon-smiths, stable crews, betting stewards, and injured handlers' families filled the seats while every active dragon remained off the landing platforms. Bridget stood at the central table without her brass license. Her temporary authority covered injury stabilization, hidden surface review, and fitting clearance. It did not restore the office taken from her when Rhovan broke her rings. Isra Brandt entered with counsel and no arena master's chain. I delayed withdrawal until performance variance was confirmed, she said. That protected the market from rumor and the crown from false injury claims. It protected the market from uncertainty, Bridget answered. Not the dragon from pain. Isra faced the witnesses. No private wager entered my purse. No betting house paid arena command. Crown flight revenue feeds dragons, repairs roosts, and pensions wounded riders. If every maker's caution removed a champion, one frightened report could ruin a season. A report becomes frightened only when the person receiving it fears what it will cost. Rhovan placed his royal continuance order beside the hidden lane slips. This authority allowed Arena Command to preserve tournament readiness without returning each disputed injury to the crown. He said, "I signed it." Isra looked toward him, and the policy preserved 6 seasons of border funding. It also kept injured dragons on the roster. You cannot judge an emergency rule only by its worst use. No, Bridget said, but you can judge the people who used its silence as permission. Darren Voust testified first. Under oath, he described the Eastern sessions as verification dissents. When Bridget's reports warned of structural stress, Performance Review ordered Varkesh tested under sharper pressure to determine whether the risk affected control. How many dissents made a verification? Bridget asked. 1 clean dissent was preferred, and if it was not clean, we repeated it. Until the variance was consistent, or until the foot failed loudly enough to satisfy the office? Darren's mouth tightened. We were trained to distinguish caution from incapacity. You were trained to make incapacity perform. Isra's council rose. Captain Voust did not say Arena Master Brandt ordered repeated dissents. No, Bridget said. He said the system required repetition whenever pain made the result inconvenient. The records covered 9 dragons whose odds shifted after hidden lane access. 4 later showed injury. 2 were quietly retired. 1 died during a public landing. 2 remained active. Bridget requested both examined before testimony continued. The first carried ordinary wear. The second, a black-winged male named Othrin, refused to place his left rear foot on stone. His stable record called it temper resistance. When an attendant raised a cinderleaf cup, Bridget stopped him. No masking compound. He bites without it, the handler warned. Then no one touches him until he sees every hand. Rhovan removed his gauntlets. Bridget looked at him. His rear foot may strike backward. Support the limb from the outside. You trust me to hold it? I trust your strength. Do not confuse that with trust in your judgment. I do not. He waited until Othrin's eye followed him, then took the position she indicated. Bridget warmed the tendon and lifted the damaged fitting. A hairline split ran beneath the rear talon. When pressure eased, Othrin's flank shuddered. He has carried this for weeks, the healer said. His last 3 records show no injury, Bridget replied. 2 replacement fittings had been issued after Eastern conditioning. Neither had been reviewed by a licensed talon-smith. Isra watched Rhovan support the trembling limb. An omission in care is not proof of market manipulation. No, Bridget said. It proves the arena could replace damaged metal without recording the damaged foot beneath it. She refused to certify Othrin. Rhovan withdrew him from the season. By midday, 11 more dragons had been removed for examination. Varkesh was no longer one exceptional case. Bridget reopened Orin Lorne's fatal review. The official judgment claimed his fitting fractured first, causing the ash wing to fall, but the inner pressure edge remained intact. The outer crack formed only after the foot twisted during collapse. A royal metallurgist confirmed the sequence. The fitting did not initiate the fall. It failed after the limb lost alignment. Isra's counsel objected. 6 years of storage may have altered the metal, not the shear direction, the metallurgist answered. Thomas Vey repeated his testimony. Orin had seen the footfold, pushed the apprentice beneath the repair arch, and stepped into the impact path. Bridget placed Orin's maker's mark beside the corrected diagram. My husband was not beneath that dragon, because his workmanship failed. He was there because the arena tested an injured foot after he warned you not to. 3 names appeared on the failure judgment. 1 reviewer was dead. 1 had retired beyond the western border. The 3rd was Yisra Brandt, then deputy arena master. Isra did not deny the signature. The evidence presented showed a fractured fitting and a public fall. "Did you know about the Eastern verification descent?" Rhovan asked. "I knew a performance test occurred. I was told the dragon completed it." "Did you read Orin's warning?" "I read a summary. The summary reduced Orin's warning that the right forefoot could not sustain steep descent to make her questions release balance. You signed after his warning had been translated into doubt," Bridget said. "I signed the evidence placed before me, and never asked for the words of the man whose name you condemned." Isra's composure thinned. "Arena Command cannot personally reopen every technical summary." "No. But it can stop calling ignorance neutral, when ignorance always protects the contest." A sealed performance schedule arrived before dusk. It listed Eastern lane sessions, variance advisories, and later market adjustments. Beside certain dragons appeared a bronze mark authorizing additional verification when withdrawal would alter high-value wagers. The mark belonged to the Arena Master's office. Isra said several deputies could use it. Then, the authorization register was opened. On the dates tied to Varkesh, Othran, and Orin's Ashwing, every deputy key had been signed out elsewhere. Only the Arena Master's private key remained inside Crown Flight Arena. Rhovan removed every betting steward from the medical court before the private key examination began. No odds board remained within sight of an injured dragon. No performance officer entered the recovery yard without a healer and talon-smith present. The change came too late for Varkesh, but it prevented the inquiry from using his pain as another market signal. Isra Brandt stood beneath the public witness lamps, while an independent locksmith examined the Arena Master's private key. "The key remained in my office," she said. "That does not prove it remained in my hand." The locksmith agreed. Its shaft carried fresh black wax from the hidden lane lock, but anyone with access to Isra's desk could have used it. The office register listed Yisra, Rhovan, and 2 senior deputies as authorized entrants. One deputy had been inspecting the Western Roost. The other had been ill at home. Mara had entered the office on every disputed date. Rhovan turned to her. "Did you take the key?" "I carried it when Arena Master Brandt instructed me to open restricted training access." Isra's counsel rose. "Did she name Varkesh, Othran, or Orin's Ashwing?" "No." "Did she order an injured dragon forced through the lane?" "She ordered verification access when high-value withdrawal required certainty." Isra did not deny the language. "Arena Command had to distinguish injury from strategic withdrawal," she said. "Riders could protect favored dragons by exaggerating strain. Betting houses could spread false weakness to move a market. Verification prevented both. By repeating the pressure that caused the warning," Bridget said, "by testing whether the warning affected performance. You treated pain as credible only after it survived punishment." The Eastern Authorization Register was opened beside Mara's testimony. Each time the private key left Isra's office, a bronze token had been placed in its hook. The tokens carried one of 3 purposes: evacuation, structural inspection, or variance confirmation. Every hidden descent tied to Bridget's reports was marked variance confirmation. The same mark appeared before Orin's fatal accident. Rhovan placed his royal continuance order beside the tokens. "My authority allowed the arena to delay withdrawal while performance was disputed." Isra met hiskaze. "Yes, because the crown required a season that could survive rumor. And you used that authority after Mako warnings documented repeated structural stress." "I used it because the warnings were disputed by the office whose revenue depended on keeping the dragons active," Bridget said. Isra's control finally showed strain. Revenue kept those dragons fed. It paid for winter roost fires, battlefield healers, and pensions for riders who could no longer mount. You speak as though the arena chose silver over life. The arena used silver to preserve life beyond these walls, and made the feet inside them bear the price without record. The public hearing paused, When Varkesh's recovery bell sounded twice, Bridget crossed the yard immediately. The swelling had fallen enough for a corrective fitting, but the tendon still shifted inward whenever the claw opened. Without a pressure-distributing ring, the joint could heal crooked. With one fitted too tightly, the tendon could lock again. The Royal Armoury offered a broad emergency brace. Bridget refused it. "I will not fit him until every injured dragon has been examined and every readiness order withdrawn. The examinations may take another day," the chief healer said. Then he rests another day. Isra watched from the rail. "You are withholding care to force policy. I am refusing to call a temporary brace treatment, while the same office can send him back to stone." Rhovan ordered all remaining dragons examined before sunset and suspended every readiness order under his continuance mark. Bridget faced him. "You are withdrawing authority you should never have delegated." Yes. No defense. No request for credit. By dusk, 19 dragons had been examined. 7 required rest. 3 carried unrecorded cinderleaf residue. 2 had fittings replaced after private descents without maker review. The findings were entered under each dragon's name, rather than buried inside general performance summaries. Only then did Bridget return to Varkesh. Rhovan knelt where she directed and took the champion's forelimb across both arms. The old fracture in his left leg shook beneath the weight. "Shift your right hand higher," she said. "Strength below the joint will pull against the injury." He obeyed. She wrapped warm ember steel around the outer claws and left the damaged inner edge free. As the ring cooled, it spread landing force across 3 talons, instead of driving it into one. Varkesh lowered the foot onto padded sand. The claw remained open. He did not stand fully, but he did not collapse. Bridget removed her hands first. "He will need months, not applause." "He will have them," Rhovan said. The hearing resumed after dark. The final performance review book contained no direct order to injure a dragon. It contained something more institutional, a standing rule approved by Isra that any maker warning affecting a high-value contest required physical variance confirmation before public withdrawal. Mara had used the private key because that rule required access. Darren had repeated dissents because the rule required consistency. Pell had shifted the market because performance review gave him advance notice. No single officer had needed to say, "Break the foot." The system made the foot prove its own damage. Rhovan removed Isra from Arena Command pending trial for concealed injury records, unauthorized use of a closed descent lane, and interference between care decisions and wagering information. Isra did not beg. "If you separate betting from performance entirely, rumor will own the market. Then the market will bear uncertainty," Bridget said. "The dragon will not bear another landing to remove it." Oren Lorne's judgment was reopened before the same witnesses. The metallurgist's finding, Thomas Vey's testimony, the hidden lane record, and the intact inner pressure edge were entered together. The clerk struck failed workmanship from the death record. In its place, he wrote that Oren died after recognizing a dragon's collapsing foot and stepping beneath its fall to save an apprentice. Bridget's license was returned before the court adjourned. She accepted it only after the revocation itself was entered as wrongful. Then, Rhovan opened the sealed draft of the new arena charter. Its first clause removed betting officers from all medical and fitting decisions. Its second required every maker stress report heard before flight. Its third named Bridget as proposed chief talon witness. The charters still required public ratification. Across the lower margin, one final attachment remained unopened. It was the original royal review of Oren's accident. Beneath Rovan's predecessor's seal appeared a younger Rhovan Roke's countersign. The original royal review was opened beneath 3 witness lamps while the arena remained closed. Rovan's countersign appeared below the judgment that had blamed Oren Lorne's workmanship. He had been 26 then, new to the Flight Council. "I reviewed the summary," he said. "Not the fitting?" Bridget asked. No. Not the hidden lane access? No. Not Thomas Vey's treatment entry? No. The answers did not make the signature smaller. The summary had described a fractured ring, an artisan inside the danger line, and a dragon falling during public descent. Rhovan had accepted it because the Arena Review Board called the evidence complete. You signed the words that made my husband responsible for the dragon that killed him, Bridget said. Yes. You did not know the Eastern Lane was used. No. You did know the judgment would close the case. Yes. Rhovan removed the black flight clasp from his shoulder and placed it beside Oren's corrected record. I countersigned a conclusion I had not tested. Years later, when Bridget reported the same pattern, I broke her rings, revoked her license, and ordered Varkesh to fly. I believed the arena's schedule because its authority was familiar. I treated her knowledge as grief because grief was easier to dismiss than a system I had helped preserve. Isra Brandt stood beneath guard at the hearing floor. You speak as though caution could govern a war kingdom, she said. Champions are not preserved by avoiding every hard landing. No, Bridget replied. They are preserved by knowing which pain is training and which pain is structural failure. Isra faced the rider galleries. The arena funded border flights, widows' pensions, and winter feed. I kept champions active because kingdoms without spectacle lose silver, and kingdoms without silver lose dragons. The need was real, Bridget said. So were the injuries hidden inside performance language. The final judgment did not accuse Isra of intending Oren's death or personally placing every damaged dragon in the erased lane. The evidence proved that she maintained a policy requiring injured dragons to verify their pain under repeated pressure, allowed private care information to shape betting advisories, delayed withdrawals, and preserved a hidden descent channel after warnings documented structural harm. She was removed from Crown Flight Arena and sent to trial for concealed injury records, unauthorized training, misuse of restricted medical information, and reckless endangerment. Darren Voust lost command and remained a witness. Mara Venn entered protected testimony. Pell Dor and the betting office were barred from all medical and fitting records. Then the new arena charter was read aloud. No dragon could enter a contest after a maker documented repeated stress until an independent healer and talon authority completed examination. Every private landing surface had to appear in the public construction and access record. Pain-masking compounds required a named dragon, a stated medical purpose, and separate authorization. Betting officers could receive only public withdrawal notices. They could not see private injury reports, treatment timing, or verification orders. The person who controlled wages could never again control care. Half the safety council would be chosen from talon-smiths, handlers, healers, platform masons, and retired riders. The final clause created a chief talon witness, empowered to close any landing lane when 2 independent findings showed repeated structural harm. Rhovan did not appoint Bridget by royal favor. The workers, healers, and licensed makers elected her before the charter was ratified. After the vote, he returned the 2 halves of the first ring he had broken. He had preserved them as evidence. Bridget laid them beside her restored brass license. Broken work should not be hidden because the person who broke it later understands why it mattered, she said. No, Rhovan answered. The charter passed without tournament music. Oren's maker's mark was restored to the Hall of Flight Craftsmen. The record beneath it named him as the artisan who recognized a collapsing foot and died, pushing an apprentice clear. No inscription called him fearless. Bridget refused that word. He had been afraid, she said. Courage was what he did, while fear remained useful enough to show him where the danger stood. Varkesh spent the summer away from stone. Bridget replaced hard descent drills with suspended balance work, warm sand loading, and gradual claw alignment. No ember steel compelled him. No hidden bond made him obey her. He recovered because the work stopped before the foot was asked to prove its pain again. Rhovan attended each monthly examination without armor. When Bridget needed the forelimb supported, she told him where to place his hands. He never moved before she directed him. His own old fracture worsened during cold rain. He entered her workshop after the final apprentice left and stood beside the fitting bench rather than taking the royal chair. "You limp more when no one is watching," Bridget said. "I trained myself to hide it, and then mistook hidden pain for strength in every creature beneath your authority." Yes, she examined the old alignment through his boot, but did not touch him beyond what the work required. "You cannot ask the body to forgive what pride keeps repeating. I am not asking forgiveness from my leg." Her eyes lifted to his. "Nor from me?" "No." He placed no claim between them. "I want the chance to become a man whose judgment you may someday trust as much as you trusted his strength beneath Varkesh. That is not a vow you make once. I know. It is work. I know that too." Autumn brought the first public flight under the new charter. Varkesh entered Crown Flight Arena without gold chest armor and without a betting line. Bridget fitted him with broad ember steel rings designed to distribute pressure across the healed foot. Rhovan held the limb while she checked the final curve. "Do you trust me?" he asked quietly. "With his weight," she said. "Not yet with everything." He accepted the measure. Varkesh crossed the sand, opened his wings, and rose above the arena. He completed one wide circuit and returned to a padded landing field instead of the black tournament stone. His right forefoot touched evenly. No crowd roared until Bridget raised her hand. Then the sound came not for pain concealed as glory, but for a dragon allowed to land without breaking. Rhovan stood beside her beneath the open gates. He did not reach for her. Bridget placed the first restored safety key in his palm. "Hold this until the last dragon is down." It was not forgiveness. It was responsibility entrusted for one landing. For now, it was enough